brother Brandon Hapa Agawa. What kind of last name is that?
Japanese.
Japanese. Nice, man. Nice to hang out with you, man. Good to chat. Congratulations. I was really excited when you messaged me right before the end of the year that you just passed your level 2, your senior instructor, your TACFIT Senior Instructor test, I was super pumped, and I was like, man, let's do a podcast. Let's talk about it, because it's been like some years now, right? That we've been our relationship. I think I first met you at the TACFIT level 1. Maybe it was like 2 or 3 years ago now.
It was the second to last Galazi certification, and I was supposed to come back for the other one, but I had some things happening and I couldn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was I believe 2017 or 18. It was 18 because then my daughter was born.
Yeah, man. So it's been cool, man. It's been in touch the whole time. It seems like with a bunch of guys, it's just kind of trying to. I just want to see everybody like learn and just benefit from like this amazing system, like their health and everything. Definitely.
I mean, I have a pretty interesting story, I think, of how it all kind of fell into my lap. It's basically I really like the club bell, and one of my buddies, Mark Sanchez out here in San Francisco, he's a field instructor as well. He'd been doing it for a while and, was preaching it, and I'm just like, I don't know, and he introduced me to the club bell, and I started working with it. I loved it. I wanted to know more about it, and, did some research, found Scott, found all this, the TACFIT stuff, environment. And then I was just like, I'm just going to go in and do the CST cert, right? Not knowing anything about it, just wanting, just for the love of the tool, I was getting into the unconventional tools, and clients were benefiting from it, even though, it wasn't a lot of technical instruction, but basic. And so I trained for the CST, for the flow fit and the yoga and of course the trial by fire. And I followed the training manual, the schedule that was given to me when I signed up. And I get my times down. Maybe the technique wasn't as crisp, of course it wasn't as it should have been with flow fit or with the club bell trial by fire movements. And right when, I was getting ready to come to Legacy, to headquarters, they sent me an email saying that it had been canceled and Scott wasn't going to be there. And there was, all this, stuff going on, but then they're like, okay, well, you could do the TACFIT level 1 certification if you want to. And we'll give you, they made it good. They made it real. They enticed me. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, I've trained for, some of this stuff. So let's just kind of like throw a shot in the dark. And so I came down and just blew my wig open. It was really, I mean, first of all, I met you. I knew who you were based on my jiu-jitsu coach, Danny Procopos at the time. I knew who you were. I knew about some of your accolades. And then, I'm sitting here in the first day of the cert, trying to figure out how to do the heart rate ratio and breakdown. And I look over at you and I ask you, do you know how to do this? And you're like, yeah, you do this, this, and this, right? And I'm like, okay. And then I kind of, during the break, was wandering around the gym and seeing pictures. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was sitting next to Alberto Crane. He owns this gym, and that's Alberto Crane. And I just kind of like got starstruck from him. I'm like, wow, like I feel like an oath, like, and then I went up and I told you like, hey, professor, it's great to meet you. I'm this person, I train with this person, blah, 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 blah. So that was kind of a cool, like, awakening thing that happened. But so the cert came along, the 3 days, and it was tough. Met a lot of cool people. Met, people that I'm still in touch with right now.
Yeah.
Tim is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And just the content was just, it was worth, you know, it was worth pursuing. And soon after that, you know, after the cert was over, I failed, of course. I think pretty much everybody failed, but one person, Billy, passed that year. And, you know, there was a lot of big names in there, you know, Sebastian there, Summer was there, Juan David was there.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people there. And as far as what they said at the end of the cert, like, you know, only one person passed.
I think Juan David, he already had passed.
Oh yeah, he had already passed. I think
he was maybe going for his level 2.
Yeah.
And I don't think they even let him test by that.
They didn't because he hadn't been certified for a year, correct?
Right.
But I mean, he came in. I know he killed it. So I watched him. He was a machine. Yeah, I was like, man, I need to get like that guy, and you know, my size and everything. I was like, I could do that, right? I just need to train with the right, you know, direction and instruction. But so yeah, and then shortly after that, I just, you know, really got obsessed with the technique and doing the qual. I was doing the qual, the level 1 qual, before I submitted my final submission. I probably did it like 10 times, videoed it, didn't like it, kept going, got some feedback. And then the whole Glazi thing, transition thing happened, and he was supposed to have my videos, and then I never heard back from him for like 6 months. And that's when I finally contacted you, and you know, you were like, hey, just send me the videos. And then like I was like waiting for so long. It was just this unanswered thing that I'd been working so hard for that just got no closure to, you know. It's just like, well, I guess I didn't pass. And then, you know, basically awarded me the TACFIT field instructor cert, you know, after viewing my tape. And after that, it was go time, you know, like all my clients are doing, you know, some sort of regressed movement, club bell stuff, kettlebell stuff. And after that, it was over, you know, like, it's like, this is a core principles of my training now.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's awesome, man. I was super pumped just from that first cert where I met you to kind of just being in contact, right? From jiu-jitsu tournaments, seeing you at jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yep. Worlds.
Touching base, right? Worlds, like where it seemed like here, there, Oakland at the Strongfirst, right? We met at because you live in Oakland, right?
I live in just across the bridge.
Okay.
But Oakland's most powerful is like my home gym. Like we all started together, and we're all kind of like pushing each other. I consider my coaches though, you know, but yeah, we met up out there and hung out, and that was really cool too.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. And so you're a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Nope, I'm a purple belt. I'm a purple belt. Yes. I trained under Danny Procopos for about 3 or 4 years. And then stuff happened, and, you know, I had to kind of switch academies. So I started training with his black belt, Mike Hillebrand, over in 10 Planet Oakland.
Okay.
And, you know, it's hard when, you know, my wife and I just had our first child at that time. And I was trying to be efficient because I was also doing, I was also helping teach the kids capoeira class. I've been doing capoeira for 15, 16 years. I was helping out with the kids class in Hayward.
16 years?
Yeah. I started in about 2002, 2003.
What's your group?
The group that I trained with for about 10 years, 11 years was Omalu Capoeira. Mestre Preguiça, which I think he's in LA now, but he was in San Francisco for a long time. Okay. And, you know, politics happen, and, you know, you have, you know, some creative differences with people. And I went my way to preserve my love, you know, for capoeira. You know, it's like, you can't let anybody make you feel bad for doing something that you love, you know, and keep continuing the fire of loving something, you know, a martial art or, you know, or whatever. So I moved over to Mestre Accordion's group, which is the United Capoeira Association. under one of my very good friends, Mesher Kuta. So it was like a seamless kind of like family transition into, you know, another group, which I had always frequented as well. So I had good rapport, good relationships with everybody. So it was just kind of like, I switched my brand and, you know, here we are.
That's cool. My accordion, I went with my friend Sururu up there to Oakland, actually. Like, I don't know how many years ago. It was probably like 3, 4, maybe 5 years even. And I remember, him, like the story is like, I guess he rode his bicycle, right? From Berkeley all the way to Brazil.
To Bahia, yep. B2B, yeah, he did that like with a big, huge caravan. Like it's all documented. It was a really interesting thing. We were there for the send-off party and party and parade, and then also when they came back, they, you know, featured some of the footage and kind of a sneak peek the documentary. So it was really cool. Like that man is something else. In his 70s, did that.
In the 70s, that's right.
In his 70s.
Yeah.
So, but
he was doing capoeira, like, I don't know, for hours, you know, that day when I was there.
Hours. Beating everybody down in a mental way, you know, like they move in mesties. They've been doing it for their whole life. They just move a certain way and you can't, you know, I closely related to, you know, like someone like a purple belt or something rolling with, you know, a person like yourself. Like, you know, you make one movement and the whole plan changes, you know? So like, they know how to efficiently move to really stop you, you know, and it's just work of art, you know? That's why they call them mestres.
Yeah. So did you grow up in the Bay Area?
I did. I was born here in the Bay Area. And then I took a short trip from about kindergarten to 7th grade, 8th grade to Sacramento with my mother. And then I had to move back with my father. So I started high school as I came back out here. And been here ever since and wouldn't want it any other way at the moment.
And so then you got into capoeira pretty much, right? How old were you when you started?
Yeah. I think, so 2003, I was just around 22 years old.
Yeah.
22. And I went in as a white belt. It was the Omalu is the same as, very, very close to Capoeira Brazil belt system, the Senzala belt system. So you start off at white belt. And as a white belt, I went every day religiously for the first couple of years, and skipped one batizado, and then the second one I moved up a whole rank. Like I skipped a rank, I went up to yellow belt. So in what differs in the Capoeira Brazil system is after blue belt, there's no more half belt intervals. It goes blue, green, purple, brown, and so on and so forth. But there was the half color intervals in the Omalu system. So it went, you know, blue belt, blue, green, 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 purple, purple. So it was just like an easier transitional period to where people could still get promoted, you know, whatever, politics. But so I felt I progressed really well in it very quickly. And I graduated to blue belt after about, I think, 6 or 7 years. And then Mestre Accordion's group they're on the Brazil belt system. So they have the colors of the Brazilian flag, all the different patterns symbolizing the different levels. So I kind of took a demotion just based on, you know, I couldn't just walk on to something as an instructor. So I had to like take a demotion, like a half belt demotion, which I had no problem with, because I kind of I wanted to relearn the aesthetic of the group and how, because everybody plays different. And so I did that. And then I graduated to blue belt, which is Cordão Azul, which is also an instructor level, but I don't have a student base. So it's kind of like one of those things where you get recognized, you know, by the community as an instructor. But I did do some kids classes and stuff, but I didn't have an adult student base, and I covered classes and whatnot. But and that's where I'm at right now. I'm looking to graduate to professor in a couple of years when everything gets back on track. I have two of my close friends and a couple other candidates that we're all like this big group that are ripe for the picking as soon as everything opens up and everybody, gets consistent again, including myself. So I can't wait for that. And sadly, our studio in Hayward burnt down a few months back.
Oh, wow.
During like the middle of the pandemic. So that was one of the reasons why I had to start going to 10 Planet Oakland, was because I have a daughter, so I had to make the most efficient time. So I would go do the kids class and then I would go train all in the same day, and then go home and take care of daddy duties. But that's a very, very sad thing that happened, and they raised a bunch of money. And
it burned down during like protests and stuff.
I think it wasn't a radical arson.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of homeless around in the area where it was, and I think they were saying that it could have been an accidental fire, or it could have been someone like living on a roof that kind of set. It was like a whole couple buildings.
He was cooking his dinner, and
yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, they had like rooftop apartments also, so above the buildings and stuff. But it was such a beautiful dance studio. Like it was insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the.
So you did capoeira. You got into jiu-jitsu.
I did
some soon after, and then how did you find like Strongfirst, and you had your friend Mark, right? It was in TACFIT, but how did what was the path? What was first? How did that go?
So my love for grappling started when I was in community college, about 2001, 2002. I started doing judo in my community college, did some competitions, and did pretty well. Other than the fact that I didn't really do throws, I was just doing double leg takedowns and then choking people. So my sensei would just yell at me, "Do your throws." But after I stopped going to community college, I kind of found capoeira. I found capoeira at the same time, and then I was like, because I wanted to break dance, I wanted to do some cool stuff, and then I found capoeira at the same time, and then from there it was just all capoeira.
I was gonna ask you what background, like you just mentioned that you did breakdancing. Like, is that what you?
I mean, I'm not anything like Anthony, like Quebrado, but I mean, I can do a lot of self-taught floreos and stuff, from the gymnastics gym, and just from watching videos on YouTube and applying the movements, capoeiristically. But I didn't really have rhythm, I wasn't all that. So I decided to, start throwing some kicks and train capoeira and just kind of dive in and immerse myself. And I did. I went to Brazil a couple times for about a month each, both times. One time I went north, and the other time I stayed in Rio. Amazing experience, scary, all the emotions, all the feels. I got sick, stayed in the hospital.
Did you get robbed? Did you get robbed?
I didn't get robbed because at the time I had really long hair, and like it was summer, so I was pretty tan, and I kind of looked like a local. I kind of wore like shredded clothes and cut off tanks and stuff like that. And we rolled with a bunch of people too, so it was cool. And at the time,
you got sick though.
I did. I drank the water in the hostel, and it was bad. It was bad. I probably lost 10 pounds for sure on that vacation. But yeah, it was war stories from Brazil. And then so the deal was that you had to go to Brazil to get your blue belt, to get your your graduate belt. And I did. I went twice, and it was amazing. But at the time, at both times, I was heavily studying Portuguese, like hours a day, and I was able to go around Salvador and Bahia by myself, speaking Portuguese like no problem. Always apologizing for my my horrible Portuguese, but people most of the time be like, no, you're good, you're speaking clearly. So that was fun, and shortly after that, well, I actually used to work, after I came back from Brazil, I got a job with a physical therapist. And that's when my kind of like clinical backgrounds started to, kind of begin. I worked for a guy for about 4 years as a PT aide, an assistant, and a personal trainer. So I got certified, and then I worked under his cruel tutelage for about 4.5 years. But that's when I met Denny, because we worked out of a gym, and Denny had a program inside the gym, and that's when I met them. And that was about 2010. And then Denny was always like, come on, man, you should train. Come and train and come check out the class. And I was like, I'm just, I'm doing capoeira. And then at the same time, I had started doing Filipino martial arts competition, eskrima.
Okay.
And was doing that and capoeira at the same time. And it was a great combo of, self-defense and awareness and proprioception and balance and all that stuff. It was really good. And then finally, I started working for another physical therapist after Denny had moved from the location and actually had been very close to the other location that I started working at. Mm-hmm. And I ran into him at this restaurant, and he was like, come by, come train. And I was like, I think I'm going to. And then after that, with the influence of, I had a couple guys that were working with me at the PT clinic that were Gracie guys, all gi guys, and just heavily influenced, I just started training. In about 2015 was my intro into no-gi Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And man, same thing, white belt. I trained 5 days a week, as much as I could, did open mats. I got my blue belt in a year and a half. I won 2 tournaments I entered as a white belt. And after that became the long grind as a blue belt. And then I think right before Scott's last seminar, the breathing seminar, I don't know if that was his last one, but the second to the one before he did the talk.
Came down,
so the breath one where I came down and stayed in the compound. Thank you for that, by the way. I had just gotten my purple belt from Hillebrand, because I had been a blue belt for, I think, 3 years. And he's like, it's time. So that's my journey there. And I started dabbling in the gi, training over at Legacy with you guys when I was there, and just going around to the open mats and training, different places in the gi, and it's been great. Denny actually started a Kaioteha program within his gym too. So he has, his Denny Procopos Jiu-Jitsu, and then also the Kaioteha gi program. And I would go visit over there a couple times a week, once a week. So dabbling, and I actually, on accident, competed in the gi. I clicked the wrong banner for the IBJJF San Jose Open, because it has a no-gi banner and a gi banner. And I signed up for gi. And my friend's like, hey, man, I don't see you on the bracket. And sure enough, I went back, and there I was on the gi bracket. And I was like, all right, well, let's do this. And you know what? That was like a pivotal moment for myself as well as a blue belt, that like I found it opened up a whole new world of love for jiu-jitsu, because it was so fun to compete, against someone. I mean, I didn't get tapped, it was like I lost on points, of course, but like I think we went through every position, and it was only one match because, of course, you lose once and you're done. And
yeah.
And so we went through like all the pins and positions, and, it was a scrambly match, and, I had my gi over my head, and, I had one of my friends who was a black belt for Half Gracie Berkeley. I was like, hey, can you just coach me and just yell stuff at me? Cause like no one else that I know is here. So that was a cool tournament, but it really, really expanded my love for jiu-jitsu, and like, I never thought of myself as just like strictly no-gi and because of my judo background and like, I'm comfortable in the gi, I'm okay with it and I actually like it now, so it's, as much as I can, I like to train in the gi. My grappling dummy has a gi on. I do, gi and no gi. It's the way to go, it just makes you a more well-rounded grappler.
That's it, right? That's it. You should know both, right? If you're black belt in jiu-jitsu, it's jiu-jitsu, right? If you, the controls, gi and no gi, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I
should be able to adapt,
Right. If you take the gi off, right, you shouldn't suck. Vice versa.
Yeah.
If you put a gi on, you shouldn't suck. You should be able to
exactly.
take care of business.
You should have a base knowledge of, grips and movements and, angles, and that's just how it should be done, I believe.
Yeah. How did you get into Strongfirst?
Strongfirst. One of my
because you're level two, right?
Yes. Yep. So one of my
kettlebell.
Yeah, SFG, Strongfirst hardstyle kettlebell, level 2 kettlebell instructor. So one of my good friends, Luis, over at Oakland's Most Powerful, he's a 10 Planet guy, and that's how I met him. And he started, he's a personal trainer, independent like myself, and he just kind of showed me one day. He was like, "Hey man, I'm working on this, and you should come hang out and train and see if you like it." And I was there before that whole place was even a thing. It was just a little shack. And,
what a beautiful gym. It's
man,
one of the most beautiful gyms I've ever been to. Shout out to Oakland's Most Powerful, right?
Yeah.
Trees, like outdoors. I mean, if you're gonna the pandemic road with the indoor gyms being closed, that's the perfect location, right?
Exactly, man. Being there on a nice summer day in Oakland, it makes you feel like you're on in another country, because they have the creek and the palm trees the wood and the turf. It's awesome. It's awesome. And they've actually upgraded a bunch now too. So they got a lot of cool stuff going on.
It's like reminds me of Mr. Miyagi dojo,
Yeah. In Cobra Kai. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only with a lot more cool toys and stuff. So
yeah.
But yeah, man, I that's like, I consider that my home turf, and like, it's just a beautiful gym. I try to refer as many people over there as I can that, are on that side. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Luis kind of like brought me over and introduced me to his brother, his business partner, Alexei, and his other partner, Melissa, and all three of them own Oakland's Most Powerful, and they're all just amazing people, which make amazing coaches, and so from there on, we just started grinding, and Alexei, Melissa, and I all kind of started around the same time frame. They went to Denver, I went to New York, and I actually brought Luis with me because he was like my coach. I brought him with me, flew him out. We stayed for like about, I think, a little over a week. It was super fun experience. Went to Marcelo's and, just went and just did the whole NY thing. And I didn't pass. I technically faulted out. So I put my hand on my leg they call it a brace, as I came down from my, snatch. But I mean, they prepared me. I came ready, but I just had this mannerism after I was going to put the bell down, I braced, and it wasn't even a brace. It was just like a touch, and it's technical. So I passed the test, with 40 seconds left. I just burned through it, and they were like, a couple of the team leaders were whispering. They're like, and I was like, "Oh no!" And they're like, "Yeah, you failed out." Because I had, they give you 2 strikes, and then that's it. So I failed, but luckily my team leader owned the academy that the cert was being held at, which was 5 Points Academy, and Steve, shout out to Steve. I asked him, after Sunday, after everything was over, the test and everything, I asked him, I say, "Hey man, let me come back tomorrow and do the test. I'll retest immediately." And so he's like, "Yeah, cool. Come on over." Came over at noon and just killed it. I had a couple faults too, but came back and killed it, passed it same next day. So I really did, two snatch tests 2 days in a row, which felt really good. And then after that was, another kind of pursue to do the SFL and the SFB, as the Oakland's most powerful crew. They kind of went that way and started doing all that and became the elite, holding all three. Mm-hmm. And then I went to the breathing seminar, and kind of like kept my interest, my consistency within both, but into TACFIT a little bit more, I think. Even though I use, club bells and kettlebells every day, like the principles from the training, the protocols, the timing, being able to do regressions and half protocols and all that stuff is what really is, I think, is the part that is amazing, because you can adapt it to anybody, to somebody that's doing only Strongfirst, or somebody that doesn't do either of them. They don't even know what they're doing, but they're, doing regressions of TACFIT movements and just building. So I started thinking about training for SFL. I actually started training, and I wasn't able to make the cert. I wasn't able to go physically.
So SFG is the body weight.
Oh, sorry. SFL is lifting. Yeah.
Is the lift. SFL is the lifting with the barbell.
Yes. So it's barbell. Mm-hmm. And my numbers weren't anywhere near where they should have been if I was, going to be able to make it. So I and there's other things going on in my life where I just wasn't able to make it at the time. And so I kind of put that down, put it on the back burner, and then just kept working TACFIT stuff, kept working SFG stuff, and just kind of kept sharpening the blade with consistency, and giving more to my clients, progressing them or regressing them based on, whatever their needs were. And then sometime after, you took it kind of as an invite, because you personally reached out to me and like, hey, we're doing this virtual cert, and I think you do great. Like you even said yourself, from your horse's mouth, you're like, you've been doing the reps, you've been putting the reps in. Like, I think you would do great in this. And I took that, I'm honored for you to like personally say, hey, I think you should do this because you would do well, and like have confidence in you. And man, felt really good training. Jiu-jitsu took a back burner. Like, I think there could be a whole podcast that, somebody could do on the importance of dialing back your other training when you're doing like certs, and you have to focus on stuff so that you don't get injured. And so jiu-jitsu went on the back burner, of course, because of COVID. I have one of my buddies that he's a black belt and, real good friend of mine. So we would come and, do like 10 5-minute rounds and do some technique and stuff like a couple times a week. But as soon as I got word that the virtual certification was on and I was committed, and, I was just like, I gotta put it down, because it doesn't work when you're doing heavy jiu-jitsu and heavy training. Mm-hmm. It just wouldn't fit with my schedule anyway. So I committed, after you invited me to do the cert, and I didn't really know what to expect. But man, it was tough. I worked my tail off. I literally worked my tail off every morning at like 5 a.m. I get up, walk my dogs, make coffee, and I come down and just grind on anything that I had to do. There was a couple of months where every week I had qual training, basic technique training. And then I had technique training, the technique test training. And then I had the foxtrot training, and then I had echo training. So I had 4 things spread out through 7 days that I had to like pepper in one after the other. And then of course you had the rest, and you have your flow day. So that was hard to figure out that. And then shortly after that, I realized my SFG's 2 cert is going to be expiring in December. And this was in September. And I'm like, holy crap, I'm going to need at least 2 months consistency for straight up my half body weight press, which is a level 2 strength test. And then of course the level 1 snatch test, which is the first thing that you should have to do, because it's a level 1 skill and they make you do all the level 1 skills before you can certify the level 2 skills. So boom, that gets dropped in my lap. I'm like, okay, well, I have to do a virtual cert because I'm not going anywhere to assist, right? So then I peppered in overhead press training, and then snatch test training, along with Foxtrot, Echo, technical, and qual training. And then also like specific strength training, because Nestor had a great, program set up that was, man, as hard as I worked, I bet he worked 20, 30 times harder on answering questions, looking at videos, developing content, and developing videos, developing all the curriculum. I mean, of course, with, your help and other team leaders and whatnot, but man, great setup, great schedule. Some of it was, it was hard to understand some things because, it's a learning process, going through it, developing it, and then kind of working out the bugs. But I just fell into my own groove based on the general training guide, because I knew what I had to do. I knew what I had to train, but then the technical part is really hard to bite off, because in each one of those protocols, the Echo, the Foxtrot, the technical training, the qual, there's many sharpening that you have to do, like very fine sliced sharpening that you have to do for all the movements in all 4 of those protocols. Right. And then on top of it, snatch training, which is heavy on the CNS. And then of course the heavy bell training, heavy overhead press training. Shout out to Alexi at Oakland's Most Powerful, had my program dialed. I go to him for stuff like that when it's in when I want something that I could just look at and go do. I don't have to think. Thank you for that. So, both of these certs fell on my lap at the same time. So for about 4 months solid, I was really, really just down here in this lab right here, grinding every morning. And I learned a lesson about all the father figures and male figures in my life, why they would wake up so early in the morning. When I was a kid, I'd wake up and they're already on the 3rd coffee and read through the newspaper. And, it's because it's the only time there's peace and quiet when you have kids. I have a newborn and a 2-year-old. So like, it's the only time they have time to really like do things. And I found that. And I swear I fell into my old man groove, but I just understand why they did that. And now that's like, this is my meditation time to come down and just do my reps. And then, when they all wake up, I go up, we do breakfast, and then the day continues. Check my video. I videoed myself religiously to make sure that my technique was on. So I'm checking tape, I'm making breakfast, I'm, going about life. But that was like something really cool to like kind of experience firsthand and just like have it happen to me organically. And, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Now that this cert's over, my wife and I are going to be competing for the early time, because she's a surfer and it's winter. So it's nice. Really good. But yeah, so, both of these certs on my lap, it was super tough, super, super tough. But the SFG wasn't as tough as the level 2. I really had to, I'm going to use your quote here, I had to get spiritual. Like on some of these things, like I had to just close my eyes and know that I'm in good form and technique and just complete it. And the breathing technique that I learned at Scott's seminar, it carried me through the whole thing. I felt like I was almost never past my 80%, almost never, until the last couple of times I did the Foxtrot and the qual. And I was like, wow, this stuff works. This stuff really, really works. And until you envelop it and you you take it in and you practice it, it's a game changer, you know.
That's it. You know, I think that pushes you to the limit, right? Of what
Yes.
you can do, what you can do. And then once you feel how much farther you can go with the correct breathing and the structure, and you're under so much stress and you can do more because of it, you're like, you drink you already drank the Kool-Aid, but you're all in, right? You, like people say in TACFIT all the time, I'm a lifer, you know, I'm a lifer. Like, you know, I mean, so
yeah, you're experiencing it work, like at the, you know, in real time on yourself, and you're like, whoa, I'm still going, whoa, I'm hitting my numbers, whoa. That's why when I was telling you when I passed, I was like, it doesn't feel real. It feels like I'm still waiting to hear if, you know, to get some feedback to say, no, you need to go back for another, you know, here's another allotted amount of time and I want you to sharpen up. But I think I was so hard on myself because my coaches, Juan David, like they didn't let up.
Shout out to team leader Juan David from Panama, right? All
yes,
guys.
He kept me so honest with myself that like I had no other choice. When I videotaped myself, I would just say, nope, not good enough, not good enough. And Coach Bob too, and Nestor also. You know, they're all very readily available for any questions, any technical stuff. You know, and that's awesome. I don't get that quite that at my disposal with the Strongfirst stuff. You know, I have my go-to people for that, but nobody like so high up that's just so readily available.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to knock that or anything, but you know, like, it's just different. It's just different, smaller community.
People like, you know, the you know, growing a lot, right? But you know, like you find the same things, right, with people in the TAC, but they care so much, you know, they care so much, like even from the customer service, like Nick and whoever, all the people behind the scenes people, you know, we're all working so hard, you know, like 7 days a week, you know, we're so like emotionally invested, we're like all in, and it's all to help people, right, live their best lives, because the system has helped us so much, you know, every single person that works in TACFIT, you know. It's really amazing to see.
Yeah, and you know, that's what I'm so thankful that you kind of like took the system and you're carrying it on your back, man, like leading from the front, you know, reviving it, you know. And I have this feeling in my gut, it's going to be big. It's going to be a lot. It's going to grow a lot more. It's going to kind of just expand so much, especially when everything kind of opens back up and in-house certs are going to be available, man. It's going to be a sight to see, you know, and it's still before its time, and it's still, you know, there's still a lot. I still want and need to learn a lot. That's why I'm, like I was telling you, I'm going to see where the time frames line up with the Flow Fit certification and the Club Bell, which is what I wanted to do originally. And I was going to do that. What was it, last summer?
Right.
And I had
last January, last year. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So last January, I had plans to come, and again, life kind of threw me a curveball, and I wasn't able to make it. So I'm very stoked to do the Club Bell cert. I mean, even though I understand a lot of the technical stuff from doing the level 2 cert, I just know that there's, you know, a lot more, and also how hard I trained for the trial by fire previously. So I know I could do it, and I just want to learn as much as I can from Nestor and from Bob and from you. You know, like it's just a never-ending process. It's just forever a student. And another thing that was really cool about 2020 cert season for myself, it was the first time. This year is the first time I ever passed first time without having to recert. So it's the first time SFG level 1, I didn't pass. SFG level 2, I couldn't make my press. I passed like a week later. And then TACFIT level 1, I didn't pass. Got my cert like maybe 8 months later due to some technicalities, as you know. But so I recerted my SFG level 2 skills right on December 2nd, and which was very close to the original time frame for the level 2 to end. I think it was a week apart, something like that, somewhere close to that. And then we got extended to the end of the year, which I absolutely needed. There was no way that 3 weeks just really, I peaked. I just peaked myself. And passed, like it still feels unreal. It still feels like I just did a half foxtrot protocol today. Cause I just, I want to keep it going, keep my blade sharp. So, like it's just, keep
that high.
Yeah. It's unreal. I really put everything into both of these certs, these past few months, and it's just so gratifying to know that, you go, something happens in life, you go through it. A great man once said that, and you just keep going, like no matter what, just don't stop, and for me, the nights are long with the new babies and whatnot, but the years are short, so I'm down here trying to be my best me, 1% better every day, and with the help from the TACFIT community and, my teammates and the Strongfirst community, like it's all achievable, you can do it.
Yeah. Congrats, man. Way to finish 2020 on top,
Yeah.
A crazy year, but man, way to upgrade, yourself.
Yeah. And it's going to be the same. I'm planning for the same thing, 2021, as long as, stuff is all wacky and we're able to successfully, do some online certs.
Yeah.
I love having the structure. I love having, just commitment, I need that. And hopefully I'll be able to focus a little more on jiu-jitsu now because I've been really missing it. My wife's been listening to some podcasts and she's very interested in it now too. So I'm going to try to find a good gi school to go. And then obviously my children when they get old enough. So I'm pretty excited for that. And, cause you're leading by a good example with that, with the, all your kids doing jiu-jitsu and like, so cool.
Yeah. Well, man, I look forward to seeing, I hope to see you in the flow fit and the club bell, just to have you have that trifecta, that, the complete thing,
Yes, sir.
Level 2 is the monster, right? Cause that's like 3, well, now we have the technique test too. So, but pretty much like 3, I feel like it's 3 certs in one. And what's perfect about it is it's like, it's Foxtrot is more strength, right? Like it's so perfect, like with mobility and the strength and conditioning, recovering from stress, right? So it's like, it's the perfect balance, like of being like I'm always thinking about jiu-jitsu, but just, you're a complete athlete. You're mobile, you can move, you have good conditioning, and you're strong. You're strong enough, and I don't know, for me, that's like the perfect like athlete, to do stuff,
Yeah. I mean, TACFIT provides all the tools, provides everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you say, it's for jiu-jitsu, it's for capoeira, it's for Muay Thai, it's for anybody.
Life, right?
Who just wants to be better for life, and I'm truly grateful that I've, it literally fell into my lap and I just went for it, I got to meet you and so many really, really good people, really knowledgeable, accomplished people. And I'm just happy to be a part of it,
Did you feel, how did you feel after? Did you feel wrecked? Like your body was like,
No, since I passed, I kind of put out a little note to everybody on the level 2 WhatsApp group to kind of like, let them know like, hey, if you need help strategizing or you need any kind of, anything to help you that maybe I can help with because I just passed it, let me know. Let's work it out. And, people are like, oh my God, when I do the Tabata, I'm so wrecked. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be like that, And I did the Tabata I did the qual 4 days in a row. I have 42, 43, 44, and then 47. Wait, no, 46, sorry. 44, then 46. And those times I came, you know, I knew I could do it. I technically like lost count and then burned myself out, you know, something like that. But that last week where I was just like, I did it once and I'm like, nope, I didn't do it. Did it again. Nope, didn't get the right numbers. Did it again. Missed it by one. I was so like salivating. I'm like, I can't wait to get down there tomorrow and just kill this thing, because I knew it. I knew it in deep in my bones that I was just going to complete it. And I didn't feel wrecked. But the last time, it took me 2 days to recover from the last time I did the qual. It took me 2 days. I was celebrating, you know, but like I was still moving, but like I was just like, man, like I still feel like amped. I still feel amped. I wasn't tired. Let me rephrase that. I wasn't wrecked, but I was just like, I think emotionally, it just like pulled me through like some experience, you know what I mean? That like I was still recovering from that mentally, but physically, like, you know, I have 2 kids, I'm lifting them up, I'm playing, you know, walking dogs 2 miles a day. It's not anything that made me just like not do anything for, you know, 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
Unlike foxtrot training, sometimes I did it every other day. I did it like 5 times in 7 days, and I was doing it every other day, or 4 times in a week. And then, yeah, so that was rough. That was really rough. But you know, it just goes to show that like with all the tools, if you apply them, that you're going to recover and you're going to be able to do another workout, you know?
What were some of the things you used to recover between the foxtrots and the quals?
A lot of FRC mobility, cars, just when I'm holding my daughter, just doing whatever. And then also some flow movements that I, you know, would compose of just different TACFIT movements, you know, obviously having your guys's flow day over at Legacy, you know, look at a few movements and just start putting stuff together, you know, Granby rolls.
Or yoga, yeah, flow fit.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously doing just, you know, regular static yoga as well. And doing recovery walks, doing recovery, you know, quarter protocols, half protocols, you know, just keeping the heart rate, you know, pumping, keeping my pump going, you know, just using as many different things as possible. I took no pre-workout. I did 1 cup of coffee every morning. No like glutamine, no nothing, just straight up, you know, immune boosting vitamins and food, you know, like, and a cup of coffee every morning. That's it. And I think my nutrition was so good. And because I usually don't get a lot of sleep, maybe 5-6 hours, but I think everything was so well placed: training, breathing, flowing, recovery, food, and sleep. Even though it wasn't a lot, I always recovered. I think I told you or somebody, I was like, I'm recovering like Wolverine. Like I'm just going back for more because I want this technique sharp. And, you know, it happened. And like, I'm 38 years old. You know, I'm not the spring chicken I once was. And I, you know, doing all this stuff is, you know, any other average 38-year-old probably, you know, wouldn't want to do any of this stuff. But, you know, it just goes to show that if you have all the right tools, that it can happen and you can feel great doing it. You know, like I just wish I was able to do a little more jujitsu, you know, within the process. But at the same time, I didn't want to get hurt. I just didn't want any possibility for me to get hurt, because I mean, when I first started the cert, I couldn't even press a 24 with my left because I had a shoulder injury.
Right, I remember that
from Worlds when I saw you back in 2018. and just lingering injury. And I just started doing the press program for the SFG2, which is just a lot of presses in a lower weight, and then you start progressively getting heavier. With that and the foxtrot 50 reps I would have to do every week, maybe a couple times a week, my shoulder got way stronger. And then also doing, you know, the pull planks and all the stability stuff with the sit throughs and the tripods and all that stuff. Is just, my shoulder's stability is crazy. And shortly after, I started pressing the 28. So I push pressing the 28, which was really, really good. A good concept to do this, the Strongfirst level 2 strength overhead press training. And then also the foxtrot, you know, push pressing at the same time. Cause I had to press a 32 for 1 rep for my SFG2 strength test. So I'm hovering, you know, right around 25 reps with the 28 kilo. And so it was just like solid training for my shoulder rehab and for just to boost my strength up to be able to press the 32 kilo. And I did it, and it worked hand in hand. It couldn't have worked any better. It's
amazing. I was gonna say, like, this year with no tournaments and the pandemic and everything, I always kind of say, like, TACFIT in a way, it's like tournaments, you have an opponent, right? But with TACFIT, like, the competition's with yourself. Like, the technique is your opponent, right? Yourself, your breath, with the correct structure, the movement, and that's the battle, right? Keeping the heart rate, in the right heart rate zone. Do you agree with that?
I do, 100%, because even though, when you're at a cert, everybody's doing the same thing and you want to pass and yada, yada, yada. But really the competition is within, like, can you do everything they're asking within the parameters of the technique, the time, and, keep your breath, you're under your 80% of your target heart rate. Can you do all that? Okay, are you disciplined? Are you strong enough? Are you,
mentally,
are you mentally strong enough? Are you, do you have the will? Do you have the spiritual power to do that? And it's 100% a battle with yourself. Like I was telling you, Juan David was really hard on me. He left it up to me to determine all the time when I would ask him a question. He's like, let me tell you this. How would you feel if blah, 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 right? And I would say, yeah, okay, it's clear, right? So now I have an idea of everything that I asked. Like, it could come across to someone else too. The question will pop up for other people. And then I'll have a definitive answer, I'll have a definitive answer of, what it should be. And I was really, 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 really strict on myself. Very, very. I videotaped every session. I checked the tape. I wrote notes. I have a huge log from the past 3 months of training. And I'm actually going to rewrite it in case, not in case, but for when I have to do it again. So I have everything logged, everything there, how I did everything. It might change a little bit on the second time around, but it'll all be there in case when I help someone else go through level 2.
Why do you think, for me, like, it was a high, right? Like, I kind of miss, like, having that goal, and the whole certification process, like the level 2, it brought out the best in me. I had to be 100% in everything, what I ate, like my recovery, my, just that, the training, right? I had to be 100%, why do you think it meant so much to you? Why did it mean so much to you to do this and to do this right? What brought it out of you?
Well, I mean, that's a pretty deep question. I like it. Like, everybody has their different reasons and ways, but, I have multiple, like, I want to be the best person for myself. I want to be able to give that back to people. I want to be able to spread this system to all the people that are, under me, willing to learn, my clients, my friends, help people. I'm a body worker, I'm a coach. So I think, I feel like I was put here to help people in one way or another. But to spread it, to make myself better at the same time, to enrich my own lives, give myself goals, give myself structure, and also to see how deep I could go with myself. How, if I say I'm going to commit myself to something, how hard will it be for everything to fall into line, mentally, physically, family wise. It's like, my wife is so proud of me.
I'm proud.
Yeah, man. Like it's like
I'm
on a continued.
That text you sent me last week, I was like, I was pumped this whole weekend.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm honored to even be on this podcast, as you have some amazing podcasts with some amazing people. And it's just really cool that I get to share my little story, with everybody in my journey. And some people need that discipline, that's something that low-hanging fruit to strive for. And for me, that low-hanging fruit is just wanting to be better, in one way or another, wanting to be able to give back. And at the same time, supplement and complement all the other things that I do. You know what I mean? I want to be, I'm right now, just again, quoting you, like, I'm fight ready without a fight, like I'm excited to hopefully start going to do some jiu-jitsu this week or next week. But for being off for a while, I am very confident I'll be able to hang.
Did you have some sticking points where like, man, like kind of you're tired, like, I don't know if I can do it?
Many.
You had a routine, but did you have some moments where like some sticking points? And if you did, like, who did you think about? Who did you think about in the?
I had many. I had almost every week, because like I'm saying, like I filled my plate, not bragging about that. It happened, and I filled my plate, and every week I was like, man, just based on my history of not passing things, I was like, I'm probably not going to pass, but you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly fine with that. It's the process, the journey, you know what I mean, that's molding me right now, not the destination.
Surrender to the process.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm trusting the process. It's, the journey that's molding me, and it's not the destination that I'm focused on, because eventually I'm going to get there. Like, it doesn't matter if it's in 2020, 2021, whatever. But my drive, the drive that I had deep down inside to want to be just better, to want to learn, to want to envelop aesthetic and technique. Because I feel like I just absorb things quickly and I learn them quickly. I always have. And a lot of times I put too much pressure on myself, and I don't forgive myself. Like if I miss a day, I missed a workout day, slept in, or it was raining, and whatever the case was, I would get really hard on myself. I just wouldn't forgive myself. And then the next training session, I'm just on, and when on those down times where I'm like, I don't know, like, this is too much. Like I'm beating myself up, my shoulders still rehabbing. I can't even come close to pressing the 28. And, I'm just thinking of, like, a lot of times, multiple times I would think about my wife having to bear 2 children, like the strength and the will and the spiritual place that you have to go to be able to do that, and how resilient she was when she did it. And both times, like, just amazing how it all happened. And a lot of many times I pulled from there, and just like, if she can give birth in 45 minutes and we can leave in 24 hours, no complications, I can do this. I just need to focus. You know what I mean? I need to really, really focus on what I'm doing and not get distracted. And Joe Rogan uses the term, quieting the inner B word. You know what I mean? So like, yeah. It got the best of me a lot, but then I would come back. It's like, I think it's a matter, if you get defeated, you come back. You know, you check your tape, you practice movements, you meditate, do whatever it is you could do to get yourself back in the mental confidence, in that mental state where you go and you execute, you know. And that's kind of the gist of where I pulled from. And also my grandparents were Japanese American descendants that were interned in the camps, so I also pull a lot of, you know, thought from them too, having to persevere through, you know, adversity and racism and whatnot for me to even be here doing what I'm doing, you know. So, and my grandmother at 98 just recently passed away about 2 months ago, and you know, think a lot about her and that side of my family. So I pull, those are my two main kind of inspirations, and of course my daughters and stuff too. So, because they're working out. My 2-year-old works out, comes down and lifts her a little 9-kilo kettlebell and does a deadlift and stuff. So she's inspired, and I think anything that we do that's positive, that they're going to be inspired to do yoga, jiu-jitsu and stuff. So family, you know, I pull it from the family fire.
Thanks, man. Thanks for sharing that. Appreciate that. You know, it's powerful. And you know, I traveled around, did certs, like, you know, around the world, you know. Well, I did like 51, I counted, right? Workshops and certs around the world. And I did like 30 something certs, you know, certifications like TACFIT and, you know, FlowFit, mainly TACFIT, FlowFit and Club Bell. And, you know, we do, right, there's like 3-4 workouts for the first day, and then second, depends on the, you know, the day, how they do it, you know, but the second day it's like another 3, you know. So by the end, there's like the one before the test, you know, people are like, they have to go spiritual, right? They have to go to the next level. Yep. And I would walk around and I would sit down next to people, you know, because you establish, like, you know, rapport and relationships with them. And you sit down, how's it going, man? How you doing? And they're, you know, they're done, right? They're finished. Like, they're totally depleted, you know? And they started like, but we're not done yet, right? You have the test, you know, and you start asking them questions, and they start thinking, like, this is for my grandfather, and they get really emotional. Like, he's dying, you know, whatever, their wife, husband, you know, and they go spiritual, you know. That's why I would say, they go spiritual. Yep. And they find it, right? They find it, like, you know, this is for them, like something bigger than ourselves. And it's just like, that's why I consider it like a masterpiece, like the TACFIT cert and just the system, you know. It's just like a true masterpiece, because that's what it brings out the best in you. It makes you tap into something bigger than yourself, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, man, thanks for your example, you know, really huge inspiration for me. And, you know, I work really hard, but it's guys like you that give me the motivation to do my best, you know, to have the system grow, you know, to change a billion people's lives, to give this, to share this with the people that, you know, because I know what it can do. I know what's done for me, and I know what it can do for others, you know. So, yeah, thank you for your example.
No, thank you. A lot of praise goes right back to you, sir. You know, like, yeah, it's the revival, you know. It's the revival, and you got.
I feel like we haven't even started yet, but, you know, the next year, like, you know, everybody's working hard behind the scenes, you know. Things and you guys are the apostles, you know. So, you know, thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Really. No, thank you, sir.
Doing the work, doing the reps, like, not just now, but, you know, it's a accumulation, right, of reps, right, over a lot of years. So it just happen overnight. You can't just do this in 3 or 4 months. It's like years in the making.
Staying consistent, sharpening that blade, grinding.
Yeah, this feat
grind for glory.
Yeah, years in the making, you know. But not just 3-4 months of being focused, but years in the making. So, yeah,
man. I mean, again, this whole thing is before its time still, you know. It's still young. It's still young. It's and when people when people start seeing what it can do, that's our job, you know, is to grow it and just spread it.
That's it. How can people find you?
People can find me Instagram, email. I mean,
what's your Instagram?
It's Hapa Fit SF, HAPAAAFIT SF. I don't do a lot of marketing because I kind of have a closed schedule, but you know, with the pandemic and a newborn and daddy daycare and whatnot. So I have my core group of clients, but I'm always down to do some virtual stuff, or if you're in the area, I can find a couple of hours during the week free to do stuff.
Do you train people in Oakland or in?
No, I train people here in my dojo right here in Daly City, which is it's on the San Francisco Daly City border. I live right on the county line, which
I see
is outer San Francisco. But yeah, this is my lab. I got a whole setup in here. Have had it for years, but now it's my office.
Yeah, your home, huh?
Yes, sir.
Day and night, early morning grinds.
Early morning grinds, and then my wife comes down here and does her thing. So it's a beautiful thing.
Well, thank you, brother. Thank you, man. Thank you again for your example, and look forward to seeing you.
Yes, sir.
More and hopefully when things open up more, we can get together and train.
I'm down there. I'm down there as soon as I can, because there's nothing better than going on a field trip, doing some TACFIT stuff, and also rolling jiu-jitsu at a world-class academy, you know, with instruction by yourself or any of your, you know, instructors. It's just thing that I really love going down there for, you know. And with pandemic and everything, we were supposed to be moving San Diego.
Oh, wow.
We were supposed to be moving this summer. But with the pandemic and everything, the opportunity for my wife is not quite presenting itself quite yet, but we will be going there probably 2022. So I'll be a bit closer.
Nice.
A bit closer to your academy. And I love going to Gene Jock's academy and of course Eddie's academy. So I'm just going to be right back by Mecca, you know, and hopefully start a nice little something out there in San Diego, because there's not much out there. So I'm excited for that. I'm mostly excited to just be, you know, closer to Legacy, you know, and be able to like visit more often. So I'm really kind of future tripping on that. And
we're planning on having a summit, you know, TACFIT summit. And we're trying to figure out, you know, the like locations and things like that. And right now, Rio de Janeiro is at the top of the list, like a week of training, tourism things, right? But we're kind of planning on like a TACFIT summit, a week of training, and then of course, if you want to do sightseeing things or tourist things, you can do that. But we'll have a full all the top coaches, right, and the educators, you know, there, and nice event, you know, at a nice place, you know. So hopefully that happens, you know, because I know we both love Brazil and.
Oh man, acai 3 times a day.
So, yeah, brother. Thank you, man. Thank you for your time. And
thanks, sir.
Talk to you soon.
All yes, right. Sir. Thank you, sir.